Hello, this is Alan Wheeler on my channel where I talk about tarot and spirituality. And today I'm going to use the Archeon Tarot. Quick disclaimer, uh, I believe there's some nakedness in this deck, but um, nothing too gratuitous, I don't think. But I'm going to use this deck to talk about how to connect deeply with an archetype or personified deity. And there's a lot of videos and things available. In fact, um, I've watched a lot of the videos by Kellyanne Maddox and Jesse Huntenberg and quite a few others. I visited the Irish Pagan School and other blogs and websites in looking into this, but really this is filtered through my own experience and the things that I found valuable, and maybe a few examples um, of my experience, and just to illustrate it with some tarot cards from these decks. Now, the first thing, some people talk about feeling called um, by an archetype or deity. So I'm going to use the Two of Wands here as an illustration, and it almost looks like Hecate here standing at a crossroads holding two burning torches here. And there's two ways that I think this can kind of manifest itself. Um, One is that a person almost feels literally um, called by an entity. Now, whether you look at that as your higher self, putting patterns together and breaking through, or as a real entity, um, that's the more dramatic experience that some people will talk about. And um, you may see a number repeated, such as the number 3, or um, in my case, I saw stars repeatedly um, beyond mere coincidence coming across my path. Um, it could be certain tarot cards that are stalking you in readings, and those kind of synchronicities. Um, and you may have this sense of something beyond yourself. Um, but also, I think that people can just feel drawn to an archetype or a deity, kind of a similar attraction that might draw people into a fandom for a band or a superhero or television show. So I would not despise or dispense with what just comes simply and clearly to mind. Um, Being open and responding to that may reveal more. And so just build on that with trust. I think it can work both ways. Uh, for me, the second thing was to just kind of immerse myself in the images and sounds almost of this archetype. So there's kind of a theory behind this that um, I think Jung said that the archetypes are empty containers in a way. They're just purely formal concepts. So this way of looking at an archetype, we have this idea of the Empress, but that's almost nothing until she's actually painted, uh, drawn up in tarot cards, and used in readings and actually expressed and experienced. So I recommend going to Google Images and just looking through dozens and dozens of different depictions of that archetype or that deity. And so again, this could come in like an active search, but it could also come across your path as certain things resonate from a television show, movie, or magazine that you're looking at. And so getting a sense of the root uh, archetype that's almost transcendent beyond all the different expressions of that archetype. And so for this, I pulled out the Seven of Cups, and you can see a figure riding on a winged horse above the golden chalices here. And the moon is there in the background, reminding us of the power of the imagination and all that it can invoke. Now, you may settle on two or three or one, a particular image that resonates and calls to you in a sense. But I think it gives you a sense to look at all those different versions. Similarly, be open to sounds. So songs that speak to you, overheard phrases, sounds in nature, remembered conversations, and things may also resonate or give a vibration that tunes you into that archetype. And so for that concept, I also picked the Herald of Wands from this deck. That's the page in other decks. And you can see the figure is enthralled and inflamed and passionate by almost hearing music. And here's the winged figure bringing a cup, offering a drink deep of this feeling or emotion. So these are just a variety of ways to interact with and build awareness and sensitivity to that archetype. Now, a lot of people will tell you to do research, so I pulled out the Hermit, and I would just add to that, I do think it's important if there's an existing lore to dig into that and read the myths or the stories there. But I would not only be limited to, personally, I wouldn't just be limited to those ancient texts, but also look in the popular culture versions. And I think sometimes the deity get out of their boxes and see how are they flowing in the modern folklore as well. So new and old, but reflect on and study which aspects jive with you and resonate with your heart. And in a way, you're as you personify, as you work with that, it's becoming your how you personally work with that archetype. The next idea is, in a way, the big one, and I hesitate to call them altar experiences because I don't mean an altar like this one here, but more of a mountaintop experience, a life-changing event. So there are times when an archetype or a deity will come in to our lives during a challenging time. So sometimes breaking free from an addiction, as happened to me when I was 30, working through a health problem. As I did, I felt Odin come in during a working through bouts of gout and getting rid of that not too long ago. But it could be a job or a promotion, a big life change, and it's good to build an altar. By that I mean build a memory, mark that a landmark, um, a milestone of life to look back on and remember. So in a way, it's important to distinguish between just ordinary daily life happenings and the big landmark events, those red letter days. And to build an altar. So for this idea, I pulled out the Wheel of Fortune as go through the cycles of life, and the World card. Now in a lot of the traditional tarot decks, you'll see the 4 elements around the corners of both of these cards, and kind of a wreath to echo this turning of the wheel, but on a bigger level. So these are those big life events when the tables turn and things happen. But the World card to me speaks of those times when something greater shines through. Again, that mountaintop experience, and you feel you've had a taste of heaven almost, or a vision of the future. You've seen the path. And so I had a friend in college who thought he was going to be a science major, and he was on the bus going by the education building, and something just called to his heart, and he went into teaching, and he's taught all his life, and it was as if the divine just changed his course, and he'll never forget that moment when that happened. So 2 more. One is just to be led, to be open to spirit. And so here is the High Priestess, and here she is looking. It's almost as if that world experience is there within her. And so this could be dreams, path working, readings, people who come to you and they're even unaware that they're channeling, in a sense, the guidance from the spirit. So just be open to being led through life. But the last one is just the discipline. And so I've pulled out the 8 of Pentacles, and it shows the figure at the furnace, and he's forging these 8 discs here. And this is just those daily practices, whether it's meditation with beads, taking walks, and keeping a record, maybe journaling, to remember the guidance that's coming, service, volunteer work, sharing, whether on YouTube or blogs, because I've heard some pagans say that without us, the gods would never be known, the archetypes would never be spread. So just that discipline and putting it into practice even when the inspiration may not be there. So there's 7 ways to connect deeply with archetype and personified deity from the Archeon tarot, illustrated by the Archeon tarot. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I hope you feel connection with people in your life, with online community, and on your spiritual path, whatever that may be. Take care.